Hello, Ian.
Hi, Nico.
Right then, so.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Nico, how did you actually get into martial arts training?
All right, that's quite a long story how I got into martial arts training. I guess as a child, watching all the old movies with Bruce Lee as a child and things like that, I always thought, wow, it'd be amazing to have it's like a superpower, just to have that superpower to beat anybody. And I remember saying to him, I want to do martial arts when I'm older, Dad. I want to do it. And he just goes, no, you're not, because you think it's all about fighting. No, Dad, I want to do it when I'm older. And he went, no, you're not. And I always knew one day that I'd get into it and I'd do it. And as a kid, I think a lot of kids say this, but I actually really wanted, and I did. I got into it through that, really. And then I think growing up through school, I was never the biggest kid, and I think that, again, it's like that, having a black belt, it's like the superpowers. It don't matter how big you are. That's what it always about to me. Like, he could beat you, but he's not that big. And it was always about like having superpowers, I think. So I got into, I did karate when I was younger, a little bit. But then I remember one time, we were going on my training like a friend, and I spilt a bit of blood on my gi or something at one point, and then he sort of stopped from that. And I always wanted to get back into it, but I never had the guts to go on my own. I was a bit nervous to go on my own. But then when I was 14, I got into Thai boxing through a few friends, and that's where it started, really. But I remember starting, and a guy just beating me up in sparring, like twice my age. I was 14. I remember leaving thinking, is this what sparring is? That's just a fight. I just got battered. I'm thinking, but it's a real deal. They're not messing about. And I got into it through that. Then I started going on the days where there were no sparring, and when I got back into sparring, I got a little bit better, and I kept going to Thai boxing, carried on through that. Tried various other martial arts, and I tell you, I realised there's you've got your fundamental martial arts in the centre, right? So you've got your stuff that works, that doesn't matter. You know, you've got your MMA, Muay Thai, your Sambo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You got the stuff that legitimately works and proven in the cage. But on the outskirts of all that, you've got a lot of people that want to do it, but they don't want to put the work in. So you've got a lot of this is in my humble opinion, all right? Because I've tried a few of these. My humble opinion, so I hope I don't offend anybody here. But you've got a lot of things like traditional jiu-jitsu, certain types of like points, karate. So they say they've had a fight in these things. They've got black belts. Some of them have like numerous dans on a belt. But really, we have these guys coming in the gym. We have like brand new white belts, just taking them apart because it's not getting to the essence of what matters. They say they go on the outskirts of what they're actually doing. A lot of drilling moves that really don't work, and I think that actually it can waste a lot of people's lives that think they're getting somewhere in martial arts. They might do 15 or 20 years of these things, and when it comes down to it, they could have been doing something so much better, and I almost feel like they wasted their own time. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, that's how I got into martial arts, doing that, and I never stopped really. Always wanted to keep on progressing. So I got into Muay Thai at 14 through that. In terms of Jiu-Jitsu, I started traditional Jiu-Jitsu at the age of 19 to 20. When I went to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, Air Valley Martial Arts in Keighley, and that's when I walked in, and I was like, wow, these guys are strong. They're doing something different. And I want to get good at that. And they're obviously doing something good. So there's always that initial period where you've dedicated a certain amount of time to the traditional side of things, that other club. And I think that you don't want to break off. You don't want to admit to yourself that you found something better, but this should be right. I've got 2 belts up in it, and it's been quite hard work. But then I realised, no, this is a better science. So we're going to have to bin that one off a little bit, and we'll stick at that and put all your effort into the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that's what I did, and I'll be honest, like the last 5 years, I've grappled pretty much every day. So I've probably put on the map what your average guy's doing in 15 years, because I've had no choice, really. I mean, I'd say through fear of running this gym as an MMA gym. When I started as a white belt, it was more of a striking gym, and I would still roll with everybody that walked in the doors. And I didn't know who were going to walk in. We had some good guys come in, so to me it was a necessity. Like, really need to get good at this. You need to master it, get on it every single day. You want to get good, yeah. That's what I'd say. Yeah,
So-
could go on all day about that one.
Yeah. So, do you actually compete yourself in martial arts, MMA, jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I do. I compete to become a better coach. That's I compete to become a better coach. I mean, some people compete for different reasons. I mean, everybody competes to win, but I think my specialty, what I want to get good at, is teaching. I've always wanted to been a good coach, and I think that for me to put somebody in the cage, in the ring, or on the mats in a competition, it's just my opinion. I mean, there's some of the best coaches in the world of MMA coaches. I've not actually had an MMA fight, but they've done other good martial arts for years and taught for years. But for me personally, I want to have been there myself at the forefront. So I've put myself into semi-professional Muay Thai, amateur Muay Thai. I've had a couple of amateur mixed martial arts events, competitions, and for the past, since 2013 up to now, so only the past 4 years, I've competed in no-gi and gi jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I've gone from competing in white belts to now, this year I had 4 or 5 competitions in the purple belt advanced division, and I seem to be doing better in the higher divisions than in the low divisions. But in terms of Halifax, I mean, I think I compete more than anybody in this town at the moment, and I've definitely got more experience now as a competitive coach, bringing more people to competitions than anybody now. So, you know, we're riding the wave and we're keeping it up. We're keeping the progress up, just to see where we can go with it, really. Yeah.
And what do you, in your opinion, think makes a good coach?
I'm gonna steal something. I'll steal something. A few coaches have said. First Sahabi said it, and also John Kavanagh, I've heard say this. Half of what makes a good coach, in my opinion, is being a good student. So I'm going to start with the student first for this one. I think first off, you need to be a good student. I mean, you can have some of the best coaches in the world in a room, but you've got a student that doesn't love the art or doesn't appreciate maybe what they're doing enough. That's a massive challenge. So it's half the student first. But what makes a good coach, I think, is somebody that is likeable. I think you need to be likeable by your students, and you need to get on for a start. A good atmosphere in the gym. I'd say someone that can do the basics well, teach the basics well, and then concepts well. I find that if you teach the basics well, it's like having a fundamental trunk to the tree. And as you go at higher level, each personality from that person will shine through their jiu-jitsu. So if you've got someone who's a little bit more of a go-for-it type of character, you see that shine through the jiu-jitsu or the striking. They move more like that. So you need to learn how to teach to each individual's game. So I never say this is wrong or this is right with certain movements at a higher level. That's your game. That's gonna something might work for you that doesn't work for me. So I can't be a dictator at the higher level, but at the lower level of the basics, that's the same for everybody. But at the higher level, I let each person move through the motions their own way. Now, what I'd say about this club is why we've had so much success in a short space of time, got very well known around the UK, is because we roll a lot. We do 50-50, it's 50% drilling, 50% rolling. We have now people coming from Huddersfield, Nottingham, Hebden Bridge, a lot of places to come to Halifax to this gym because the amount of rolling that we do and different body types we've got. We've got about 6 different coaches from other gyms or ex-coaches that now come here because it's just in a nice relaxed environment, but we do the work, 6-minute rounds for a full hour, and we do that every time we're on the mat after the drilling. So we have a good system set up, and I think that it's just your ability really to get your thoughts across to the other person, how to show it, being enthusiastic about what you're doing, go over it a few times. We need to get the balance right too. I don't like just going over 1 or 2 moves for a full hour because it needs to be quite an enjoyable process drilling because it can get a little bit tedious. So We do quite a lot when it comes to the drilling. It's all planned out. I don't just make anything up as I go along. All the classes are pre-planned, and then whatever I do that session, for the say whatever I do on the Monday is like more of the submission class. The week after, we recap what we did last Monday and we add to it and we just change games. Once I find that everybody's, I'm happy with everyone's progress on that part of the game, then we might move on to something I think he's working on. And obviously when we go to competitions, I look around and say, right, there's a big hole in everyone's game there, that's my fault, let's work on that. So yeah, there's a lot to it. But
And how has your game changed since you've been competing and coaching?
My game, it's mainly the understanding of the game. So you know, different coaches teach different moves, and you learn lots of moves, and it's mainly understanding of what works with who, really. So say we've got someone my own size who's a high-level competitor, but then we've got somebody who's never competed before, ever, but he's come to the gym with the white belt strength, who's 19 stone, doesn't know how to play the game. You say, get past the guard, we're going to try and pin me, I'm going to try and pin you. The berimbolos, the things that might work nice in a competition against another jiu-jitsu practitioner who rolls a bit like you, is not going to work against that person so well, because they're not playing by the rules. These people are usually the hardest to deal with. Now my jiu-jitsu, I want my jiu-jitsu to be the most effective against that person, the 20 stone guy in the bar who will slam you in a triangle, who doesn't care about jiu-jitsu, who's going to try and beat you. The jiu-jitsu is, for me, I want the jiu-jitsu to be able to work against that person. To me, that's martial arts. That's the one that works. So my game's changed in as much as I can change the game depending on who I'm rolling with. And change the game with that person, change the game with that person. So we can move, we can change with who we're training with. I've gone through a few phases with jiu-jitsu. One of my attributes was speed, so I used to use a lot of speed. And people say, why are you moving down about? You find a clear path. So now I find a clear path to how I roll. I know my game better. I can slow it down, and the idea for me now is I want to be able to pass your guard slow. You know what I'm doing, where I'm trying to go, but I go slow so you can't stop it, that sort of thing. I'll be able to just pin somebody but knowing they can't move, or as opposed to just going knee belly, switch, using all that speed. There's a time and a place where you need to do that, but that took me a long time to work out what that meant, when to go quick, when to slow down. Now I know what's going on, when to do this. My game's also changed a lot in terms of the philosophy of it, understanding core principles of things. So a lot of jiu-jitsu teachers might explain things like concepts in terms of there's a counter to a counter to a counter, but what does that really mean? We have to sit and think about what that means. What that means is steps ahead. John Danaher explains it as problems, but it's a mathematical problem with an active thinking computer. So as you're trying to answer that problem against that computer, you've got to then overcome that problem and then throw a problem his way, a mathematical problem his way, to get one step ahead. So the best way I like to explain it is just a simple step ahead. But then we're going to things of different types of steps ahead. What does a step ahead mean? Just one thing that a low-level guy might understand is you're in side control, you give someone space to go to underhook to attack the double leg. As they do that, then you attack the turtle. That means you was thinking one step ahead to attack that. But you could go all day long with this. You could say, well, you know his game, so he's giving him a tiny bit of space just for that thing. But then you go to another thing, but you know his next move, so you attack that next move quicker than he's thought of that. There's many different types. I'd say the philosophy of it is, I think once you get to more of a purple belt standard, there's less moves. Of course, there's more transitions and options, but it's knowing which is the best ones and more the philosophy about the game. No, I'll say that, yeah.
And Nico, in 2017, what is running an MMA club like?
I'd say the word's mega. I think it's such a big, growing sport that everyone's starting to get the understanding of. It's growing. I mean, I'll be honest. We have a lot of people coming down that tell me, Nico, I wanna fight Conor McGregor. You know, I wanna become a champion. I'm gonna be it every day. How can I pay for the year? Can I do this? And I mean, on first I thought, whoa, he's on it, this guy. And I think, nah, it's 1%. there's 3 people down here at the moment, maybe 4 or 5 that have been here from the beginning, and not even one of them comes all that often either. It's 1%, and I'd say it's less than 1%. I can show you pictures and pictures and pictures of classes I've had where nobody comes anymore. They still love jiu-jitsu. It's quite a hard sport. I mean, you're turning up to someone to choke you out and try and armbar you. You need to love it. You need to enjoy the science of it to keep coming. So saying this year how it's changed in 2017 since I started in sort of 2011 is that there's a lot more enthusiasm about it from Conor McGregor. He's initiated a lot with fighting Floyd Mayweather. He's got everybody understanding it a little bit more. So we have new people coming that understand the game a little bit better. They already coming knowing maybe what triangle is, stuff like this. A lot of people now thinking to themselves, they come in, they have a few classes and think, yeah, I think I'll ditch the gym off. It's not getting me anywhere. I want to learn this sport. Yeah.
And you must have had some good coaches along the way. Who's actually taught you, Nico?
Yeah, so I'll start again just by something I said earlier. I do believe what makes a good coach is also, what makes somebody to get good at martial arts is also being a good student. And I'd like to think I've been a good student as much as I've always thought about what I did the previous session, keeping it in my mind, trying not to forget, trying to rehearse what I've been taught before and how to move forward with that into the next session. So yeah, I started at traditional jiu-jitsu. But I'm gonna talk about people that have taught me and what I teach now, which is the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So Air Valley Martial Arts is where I went under Dwayne Harper at Air Valley Martial Arts. And at the time, Dion Brunning, when he was there, he was the first black belt under that gym. He taught me a lot. I had a lot of MMA experience. I've also been to 10th Planet headquarters in America, Los Angeles. I spent 2 weeks there training every day, and it was just interesting to see how they move different ways of people moving. Understanding real that there's no right or wrong. It's an art. There's no right or wrong. It's just your game, what works for you. Adam Adstead did some privates in Manchester with Adam, amazing grappler. So Leo Nagao is the head guy over Dwayne, who teaches Dwayne. So I've been to a lot of Leo's seminars. So I've had some good influences. My main training partner, Akil Boland, he's helped me a lot. He came down a very, very good grappler. He's always loved jiu-jitsu. So he's my size as well. So more of a training partner. We've done a lot of rolling together, a lot of discussions, have a lot of chats. We've had hour phone calls over the philosophy of jiu-jitsu. So it's like almost like being able to talk to yourself, roll with yourself in as much as similar size and stuff. He's got a very, very good game, and you're going to see a lot of Akil competing hopefully next year, and he's going to go very, very far. So yeah, some good coaches there. See, on a final note, if you are wanting to get into jiu-jitsu or martial arts, and wanting to come down to this gym, Citus MMA in Halifax, don't think of it as a fighting gym, because we're not a fighting gym. For me, it's more like a science lab. It's more about technique with the striking, jiu-jitsu. It's more like a science lab. What works on the feet, philosophy. The sort of gym we're at. We don't put a group of guys to fight and find out who's the head of who's the hardest, who's the toughest to put in a fight. I'm looking for the person who's the best student, who's the best with the technique, who can move on with the technique and get further in that respect. But yeah, you're going to see a lot from this gym. It's moving fast, it's moving well. The momentum's going on and on and on. We've got people coming from everywhere. We've got about 6 or 7 ex-coaches coming to this gym. It's an MMA gym. We do striking, jiu-jitsu, but I think we've got a big squad with the jiu-jitsu, and I think that's where you're going to hear about us most in the no-gi part, definitely. So yeah, thank you very much.
Nico, what actually made you decide to open your own gym?
It was by accident, really. I was a personal trainer, and I was personal training at DW in Halifax, and the rent, the rent was a lot of money. We're looking at £550 a month, and for a new starter, that's quite a lot to pay until you build your clientele up, and even then, it's quite expensive. Now, I thought I had a few clients at the time down there. I was teaching a bit of Muay Thai. I thought, where do we go from? Where can I bring is there anywhere I can bring my students without paying that money to this club that's not really looking after me? So I looked at a lock-up up at Ladyship Mills over the road, and I had so much enthusiasm about it. I just started with a piece of carpet and 4 punch bags, and just enough to pay my way at first with 2 students. Andrew Duncan and Sam Ross, and I had 2 students that actually came with me. But I had that much enthusiasm about it. I wrote the timetable down of all the classes, and I turned up when there'd be no one there. But it was more for me. So I mean, running a club has been such a big journey. I've had sacrificed hundreds of nights out with friends. I've lost friends through it. I've sacrificed a lot. I've into debt at one point when in the middle period. Then had to work full time. A lot of stress, a lot of ups and downs. But believing in yourself and knowing you can get to the end, and knowing that it's going to work out in the end, and it has. This last 18 months, the personal training down here, it's got a lot busier, a lot more clients, and now it's doing well. I'm saving up now for new stuff for the gym, so it's doing really well. So yeah, a lot of ups and downs. Start with the carpet, 4 punch bags, and now I've got full mats, a good squad, moving to a little bit of a better gym. But as I say, all by accident. Started as a personal trainer, opened a bit of a personal training gym while teaching Thai boxing, but I thought, let's do MMA, let's do more of the MMA side, and that's where we started with the jiu-jitsu as well.
I just wanted to ask you also, Nico, who was your main striking coaches throughout your career?
I mean, I spoke a lot about jiu-jitsu there. Now, in terms of striking, it was called a Thai. That was at 14. I stayed there 14 till about 18. I did about 4 years on and off there. Due to circumstances in address, moving houses, I went to did about a year with Master Sken, David Riley in Huddersfield. Did an interclub with them, and then due to circumstances of changing address again, it was Symingdown under Tony Bridle in Huddersfield. But I did 2 years there. So that's in terms of the Thai boxing. I've also about a year of karate. And I've done some taekwondo, and over the past 5 years down here I've had British karate champions, British taekwondo champions, a lot of people, boxing champions come down. So my striking game now is like a hybrid version of Muay Thai. It's not Muay Thai, it's not karate, it's not boxing, it's a version of all. So we changed the stance for MMA, but we had a lot of switch kicks in, a lot of stuff you might not have seen at other gyms. A lot of different angles, a lot of different steps. I like to, again, I use the philosophy of jiu-jitsu teaching to help with the striking. A lot of thinking of steps ahead, patterns, angles, fakes, and what that means. So I've developed my own style with the striking. Really, that's so of course everybody does that. There's always something you take from each martial art. So you can't knock karate, you can't knock taekwondo. Can't knock anything, as long as it's what you take from that martial art, what works for you, well for your game. So I find the taekwondo kicks are really good, and Muay Thai kicks really good. For example, last week we were working on the karate kick, which is less of a push from Muay Thai, more of a stabbing action. Working on that, and the concept of, with that, you imagine you've got a punch bag, we're not moving the bag, we're trying to stab the bag doesn't move. Now just that concept alone with the teaching, maybe you think I understand what you mean. Let's do that to the solar plexus, let's try and finish him there rather than moving him. Just different ways of thinking, different ways of teaching. And again, we've got some very, very, very good strikers down here. That thinking well, yeah.